Hi everyone, I am Anonymous Traveler. Today, I will talk about a way of seeing things as a process or a temporary combination of various components. Also, I will talk about the common ground between this advanced way of seeing things with the state of divine penetration that I discussed from my previous lecture. What we learn from our upbringing is to see things as a real thing or solid object or entity. But when one is awakened, he or she begins to see the things as a process or a combination of various elements or components. This new perception is the result of years of spiritual practice and walking the path, and I will share a technique to speed up the process. When one is awakened, what he sees is like a continuation of snapshots of energy dynamics. These energy dynamics occupying space and time, and we call it as being. However, if you really break it down, that space is empty. It is simply occupied by various energy dynamics. This is one of the short explanations of non-self that I discussed previously. Awakened person can see that the things are actually empty and no real substance is there. While seeing a being or entity or object, what the awakened one sees is dynamic energy flow and the interaction occupying the particular space and time. This particular vision can penetrate things, and this is a key element of gnosis. In a spiritual alchemy, it corresponds to the state of the penetration of downward triangle by the upward triangle, making a hexagram. And this downward triangle is the primordial water of Creator God, and the upward triangle is divine spark from the first class God within a practitioner. The Creator God is one of many second class gods, and the first class God is the God of a manifestation who has no involvement in the creation of this world. So, this hexagram is a symbol of conquering by the spiritual practitioner. And this state of penetration brings a unique quality. It is burning water or fiery water. It is a state where the Creator God's primordial water has been infused with fiery energy of the divine spark from the God of a manifestation within the practitioner. And the symbol of burning water has been represented in some mythological systems because the union of two opposites is at the basis of all creation. Creator God also used divine spark from the first class God of on manifestation, yet he claimed that he is the highest God and demand obedience from all the creatures. So, by penetrating the Creator God's water and infuse it with one's divine spark, a practitioner is practically hacking into the Creator God's secret of creation process. And burning water brings up a new way of seeing things and new way of perceiving things. It also enables one to see hidden inner planes and alternate realms and in-betweenness between realms. But these unknown dimensions of consciousness and the universe is simply beyond the capacity of human language. That is why this new knowledge is gnosis and cannot be explained or written down on the paper. One has to experience it in order to understand it. So, this is a new vision of a practitioner who has successfully penetrated the Creator God's primordial water by the divine spark from the first class God within himself. And one of the many characteristics of this new way of seeing things is see the things as a combination of various components. In other words, not seeing things as a solid entity. Therefore, one of the most important practices for spiritual alchemy is to observe things as a combination of various parts and elements. For this purpose, I will share a technique. This technique is for speeding up the process of awakening. When you observe something in a meditative state, it can begin to reveal its hidden nature. However, getting into that right meditative state can be tricky. Therefore, to solve this issue, you can program yourself with a specific breathing pattern for meditative state switch. This specific breathing pattern can be used as a mental switch. In my previous lecture, I shared the technique to create a spiritual symbol that was a hexagram with two combined triangles of different characters. And I said that it is a symbolization which indicates the upward triangle penetrating the downward triangle. And I said you can use this as a spiritual symbol and you can charge this over and over mentally, and then later, when you are down and discouraged, you can invoke this spiritual symbol in your mind to get a motivation. So, in a way, this symbol is like a mental switch to turn on the energy of motivation. Regarding this, what is important thing is not a shape or structure of the symbol. What is important here is what kind of meaning you are bestowing to the symbol. By the same principle, you can create your own breathing pattern and make it as your mental switch to get into that meditative state. In other words, you are creating a mental switch to turn on or off the meditative state switch based on your need. And regarding your own customized breathing pattern for meditative state, you don't have to follow a particular breathing rhythm. Previously, I have explained a breathing technique to increase intake amount of prana, the invisible energy in the air. However, for this meditative state pattern creation, you have to find the most comfortable rhythm for your own body. You need to find out on which rhythm you meditate the deepest. The key point here is not a prana ingestion, but the most comfortable rhythm for deeper meditation. So, you need to find out the best rhythm with experiment. But as a general rule, you need a decent amount of in-between time between inhaling and exhaling. The most reasonable baseline rhythm for this is 2-1-2. That is, for example, after 4 seconds of inhaling, take 2 seconds to stop inhale or exhale, and then exhale for 4 seconds, and then take another 2 second break from breathing. However, please experiment and find out the best one to get into deeper meditation. And after you found the best breathing rhythm for you, use it as a meditative switch. You need to use that rhythm over and over to make it as your switch button. It's like a switch to turn on or off the light bulb in your home. Then use it when you need to get into meditative state for deeper insight. Then get an anatomical chart of the human body. You can get this medical chart easily from Google search. The reason why I chose this human body chart as the object of this exercise is, it is the center of our normal attention. Our obsession with the human body is what drives this world around. Out of all the grasping and the clinging by human, the most significant one is human body. So, when one begins to see the human body as a combination of various unattractive body parts, one's obsession with the human body can be greatly reduced. For example, when you see a lady with striking blue eyes and blonde hair, you might be enchanted and thinking that she is beautiful. However, if you begin to see her eyeballs and hairs as simply the part of her body, such attraction is greatly reduced. Our obsession and passion is what prevents us from seeing the true nature of things. Now, start meditative breathing pattern and maintaining it throughout this exercise. Then, take a look at the anatomical chart of a human body. Observation of an anatomical chart alone does not give you an insight. However, observing the anatomical chart while maintaining your own unique breathing pattern of a meditative state can work as a trigger for an insight. So, try this exercise frequently. Thanks for listening, and all the best.